Okay, hello everyone. Thank you for joining from wherever you're joining. Good morning, good afternoon, and perhaps good evening. I'm Fahim, and I'm an assistant professor and program director at the University of Adelaide, and most of you would see me on LinkedIn. I post about academia, I post about PhD students and how PhD students can sort of learn from my journey. So I share some tools and tips. And today, the topic we have is about the future of AI and why PhDs matter more than ever. So in this session, we will discuss about the future of AI, and we will discuss that how PhDs can contribute to the future of AI. And with me, we are having Sean. Sean is the managing director at Makor. And before that, he worked at OpenAI, which I believe most of you would know about. And before that, he worked at Scale AI. So I'll give a chance to Sean to sort of introduce himself further. Sean?
Yeah, thank you, Fahim. Happy to be here today. We're going to talk about all the cool ways that PhDs can be making AI better, how we can be using AI in our lives. But before we get into that, yeah, my background was software engineering. Then I realized I loved people and engineering. And I kind of set out on a journey to go combine those two things. And that took me to this crazy world of data annotation. I joined Scale AI in 2019 as one of their first 4 deployed engineers. It was all self-driving cars. And it was a really fun kind of journey to figure out how to go get data labeled and all the human elements behind the scenes. As ChatGPT came out, though, my mind was blown. I was very excited about ChatGPT. And so, of course, one has to try to join OpenAI. And at OpenAI, I led their human data operations. This is a team on the research side, responsible for finding all of the experts around the world that can make OpenAI's models better. And it was really hard to find the people that knew what they were talking about to actually do that. And over again, that was one of the bigger challenges I had. And then I found more core as a potential solution for that. And it's been going very well. So excited to be here and kind of share more about our journey at Mercor, how PhDs around the world can be participating in making AI better, some of my learnings from OpenAI and Scale AI, and I'm excited to be here today.
Great. Thank you, Sean, for that introduction. And I believe that you are in the best possible position to talk about this topic of how PhDs can contribute to the future of AI. Because, as you mentioned, you seem to have like around 10 years of experience working in this top tech companies in like Scale AI, OpenAI, and now in Mercor. So I hope that all the participants they would benefit from your experiences, and I look forward to this discussion. Although I will come to the other part, but in your discussion you mentioned about data annotation. Now, for the benefit of all the participants, if we can just elaborate on what do we mean by data annotation in very simple words, so that they all can be on the same page.
Absolutely. I think right now a lot of people do know that the way that ChatGPT became ChatGPT was from human feedback. There's this idea of reinforcement learning with human feedback, or RLHF. And that was the big unlock that really kind of put ChatGPT on top. And so you think about who are the humans in that reinforcement learning with human feedback? And this becomes a really important question. And so to make ChatGPT better, we actually kind of demonstrate or tell a model what actually makes it better. Like, hey, this is a better response than that response, and here's why. Or I prefer this one. Or let me go show you AI how it's done, because all of your answers so far are not good. Let me go show you what a correct answer actually looks like. And so from that, this is how humans are really shaping the future of AI, pushing the frontiers.
Okay, excellent. So that was just for the context. Now, coming to the punch question of
Yeah,
this entire discussion, I think that will set the stage that, according to you, given that you've been in the industry for around 10 years, what is the future of AI? Where do you see future of AI going?
absolutely. I think that my hope for AI is probably two things. It is a very capable, smart system that can operate independently. I can add a lot of value to my research, I can add a lot of value to what I'm trying to build, just add a lot of value and enrich my life. And so I think that to make this kind of AI, though, there's a very important ingredient where it needs to have all the skills I'm not. And I think we're already getting to this stage right now where AI is good enough at a lot of things that I'm not. I still have my own superpowers, but I can really supplement my work with a bunch of other you know applications to other areas that I might not have been an expert in. Now I can use and take advantage of.
Yeah, so well, I also agree to your point that what I see is that AI touching almost every domain of our life. I see that from my experiences that AI is being incorporated in different domains. For example, in healthcare, in education, in finance, in transportation, agriculture. So, from my own experience as well, that I believe that in future it is gonna be more pervasive and will touch many more aspects of our lives. In fact, it was this morning I was reading a headline somewhere that the around $1 billion have been invested around the globe in just AI startups, like the small scale startups that are being started. And there is a huge investment and money being pumped into these startups. So certainly there is a huge scope and huge opportunity
Yes.
for for people like us and for people who are doing PhDs or who uh, are having PhD degrees. So that's very good. Now, the next question I want to ask you is about that. Because most of our audience, they would be from the research or from PhD background. So for their benefit, how PhDs can contribute to the future of AI?
I would say that people that have a lot of domain expertise are becoming the most important ingredient into how AI can be pushed further. The average person can no longer meaningfully improve, ChatGPT or these state-of-the-art models overall. And so what we're finding is that to go push the frontier in math, to push the frontier in reasoning, to push the frontier in medicine, you need someone that has this deep expertise in this area. And frankly, PhDs are one of the best places that we're seeing this over and over again. Because oftentimes you have someone who's very passionate about a given field. They've spent multiple years now working in both academia, often with some industry experience, and they honestly are at the forefront of their own knowledge, like of the field. Like they know where the field is and how to go push their own field. And so if you want AI to be useful in pushing the frontier, you need someone towards that frontier to be the one influencing it. Honestly, I cannot, add that much value to physics at all. I cannot not add any value to physics or medicine or anything on this side, because I'm not an expert in those areas. And if I want a model that can really push the capabilities for research, it needs to be from someone at the frontier. And so right now, I think this is kind of like the golden era, golden time to really have a lot of this industry expertise or domain expertise or academic expertise. I think it's really important right now, to be honest. So that's what I would say.
Yeah, so what I understood from your point is that you being in AI tech is not enough. You also need expertise in specific domains. Like, for example, you don't know about the healthcare data. So
Yep,
you need someone who is in the healthcare and who can annotate or who can label the data for you. And then you can use that data to
absolutely,
build an AI model, right?
absolutely, yeah. It used to be when it was self-driving cars and computer vision, I could do any data needed because it's just drawing the boxes or following instructions or trying to go look at one thing or the other. and I can do every single task. Today, the task that Mercor is doing, I can do almost none of because they are very specialized in very specific areas right now, and we need actual experts in that space to go help us out.
Okay, so and your point is that PhDs are such that they spend a lot of time, 4 or 5 years in a specific field, and so they become the expert, and then they can work with someone like you to
Yes,
help build models that are more domain specific.
absolutely. And I think this is also a very in-demand type of field. Frankly, I think oftentimes the pay that we're able to give because it's so in demand is also pretty high. So, one of the nice parts is that both from like a compensation part, a part about fun and actually being able to use your knowledge that you uniquely have, as opposed to some other kind of job that may not take advantage of what you're actually good at. We
Mhm.
need what you're actually good at. We
Yeah.
need your knowledge that you have been studying for a long time. And so, from that perspective, I think it's kind of a fun opportunity.
Okay, so if so, let's suppose I'm a PhD student
Yes,
and I work with you, and let's suppose I have expertise in the healthcare.
yes.
Then, okay, you build a model, a machine learning or AI model, and then how do I benefit from it? Okay, so I get paid, or there is compensation. What is it in it for me?
Competition is one thing, but what we're seeing over and over again, Fahim, is that people want to understand how their space, their industry is going to be changing. Because I think most of us know that AI is going to have an impact on our respective fields and areas. The question is what kind of impact and how will it be shaped and built? And from that perspective, these roles give you the front row seat to see how that AI is being developed in your specific industry. And you are basically having a hands on opportunity to go influence that. So to me, that's one of the cooler parts about this. And what I see, like, we actually have like lawyers, board certified doctors, very experienced research scientists who are participating with us. And like, if you are a lawyer, you probably have decent money already. So like, why would you spend your time working on an AI model? I think what we're seeing over and over again is because there's this curiosity about how my field is going to be shaped by AI and a desire to participate in it. And then we also have nice compensation and a couple other things to just make it a little bit better in the short term as well. So
Excellent, Sean. Now, related to that, for example, being a PhD student or having someone with a PhD degree,
mhm.
what if I don't know about AI? What if I have no knowledge of AI or tech? Can I still contribute to this cause or not?
Yes, you absolutely can. I think this is a really important clarification to make. A lot of people sometimes are scared that you need to be also an expert in AI, that you also need to understand how to go build a model like this. And that is just not true. Um, Oftentimes, the ways that these models are getting better is not from building it from the ground up. It is influencing and sharing feedback about the model responses. To the extent that you can read one or two model responses and say, this one is better, and here's why, you are qualified. If you can go understand instructions and kind of write what the best response would have been, you're qualified. And so there actually is not a lot of prerequisite knowledge needed. We already know that being an expert in one area is hard enough. We're going to also need you to be an expert in AI to go contribute to making this better. So we try to kind of keep those parts separate and just let you be able to use your expertise to help the models develop and become better in those different areas.
Excellent, Sean. Now, certainly the domain expertise, it's not only specific to PhDs, right? Like, for example, if I'm doing master's by research, or if I am just doing maybe a postdoc. So do you think those people can also contribute, like for example a master's by research student or a postdoc or even an academic having a PhD and having expertise in a particular field? Do you think they can also contribute to building these future AI systems?
I do. I think the key is being passionate and knowledgeable about an area that not many other people know that is important for the world. And when we think about important for the world, I think most areas, frankly, are important for the world. We want the models to be good at many different topics in many different areas. And so as long as you have, some unique insights in this field, that is interesting to us. We have a lot of, you think about kind of the maybe an average software engineer around the world, just average. Like, hey, those are easier to find now. And then models are getting fairly good at quote unquote average software engineering at the role level. And so what's missing now is the people that kind of have a spike or a little kind of a special interest in a given area and have gone deeper and have more passion about that specific area. Those are the people that are now harder to find. So if that's you about a given topic, a given area of interest, study, that is interesting. And there's not really a magical cutoff. I think it's more about just kind of passion, interest, and ability to go like add some unique contributions overall to how these AI systems are being built.
Excellent, Sean. Now, while we are talking about the contribution of all these domain experts to the future AI systems, um, since you are in the field, do you see that, like for example, some domains are in high demand? Let's suppose people are building more AI systems in healthcare or in agriculture, or so. If you can just break down that, okay, which domain expertise are kind of high in demand, at least these days.
Yeah. In this moment, there's a lot of excitement about reasoning models that can think for longer and reason about a solution. And so when you kind of think about, well, what does reasoning actually mean? How do you teach a model to reason? And what fields benefit the most from reasoning? We are seeing a lot of these STEM fields, so a lot of the math and just the sciences that you can kind of logically go from A, B, C, D, trying to figure out the solution. And oftentimes, what makes models good is having the models take those incremental steps and also kind of try something out, reflect on it as an AI would, I suppose, and decide, hey, is this a good answer or bad answer, and how should I move forward, much like a human would. And so for the domains that are kind of verifiable and that benefit from this longer exploring a space, thinking about a solution, trying different hypotheses, that is one area that is in particular demand right now, which I think probably, frankly, is a good fit for most people doing research, because that is kind of like what research is. There are a lot of things that we need to go test and measure and kind of figure out, and to reason through. That's why we're often studying what we're studying, is that we like reasoning through these types of problems. But that is a specific kind of area in demand right now. I will say that along with kind of that being popular for maybe the larger AI labs, what we're also seeing a lot of is a lot of startups and companies, as you kind of mentioned, I think before we started talking here, there's a lot of just interest in applying AI to specific verticals, to specific applications, to specific types of problems. And in those cases, we really kind of see everything kind of open up and say, hey, if you are passionate about agriculture, I know for a fact that there are many agricultural AI startups right now that probably want to be really good at your specific field in agriculture. And so I think just knowing that whether it is for a larger lab or even for a startup, someone is probably passionate about applying AI in this space that you care about. That would be my guess. So, yeah.
Excellent, Sean. Now, I would slightly divert the topic towards another thing that would perhaps be more kind of relevant to the PhD students who are currently sort of learning research. And now, my question is that you being in an industry, in AI industry for around 10 years,
Sure.
how do you, for example, identify that gap that, okay, for example, this is where AI can be applied? Because what I see is that also it became a buzzword or some kind of a marketing word that, okay, using AI or AI powered or AI based. So
Yeah.
how do we sort of understand that, okay, there is a gap, and that gap can be, for example, filled with AI? For example, if
Mhm.
there is the nature of work is as such that it is repetitive in nature, in that way we can kind of determine that we can apply AI to kind of just do the repetitive task, and the humans are more diverted towards more creative tasks. So my
Mhm.
question is that how do you determine that there is a gap and that gap can be filled through the use of AI?
Yeah, this is a great question, Fahim. I think that some of my favorite applications of AI are to cover the areas that I am not like totally an expert in. One example can be when I'm trying to do some like analytics of our business data. The fact that the AI is now built in to the SQL query editor, and it's like, hey, do you want to go build a query? Do you want to go change or update your query to include new things? That is a great application for me to of AI, where basically the workflow is there, but the AI is actually adding a lot of value now and unlocking things that I would not have prioritized or spent my time on before that do make a better end product and a better end experience. My data is now more clean and actually has, you know, better column names. It has better graphs. It has whatever, because AI is actually being able to augment my work with a lot of its kind of insights. And I think this goes to document editing. This goes to a lot of workflows. This goes to, um, I think, so many different types of things where you are building the core part and the AI is really supplementing all the things around you that maybe are more mundane or that you are not an expert in on that side. Maybe it will clean up your formatting for you. Maybe it will word something better for you. There's a lot of these applications of AI that are useful. The other part to me, and maybe more applicable to our audience here, is the fact that I can start some research deep dives now with AI already. I think most of the popular products around us today now have some version of deep research um, going on. And this allows me to go spin up a lot of tasks. I'm like, hey, I would not have spent 30 minutes looking at this, but I can go ask AI to go spend 30 minutes looking at this and let me know. And I going to use those results verbatim, but I say, oh, was this a good direction to go in? Yes or no? Is there something there? And so my excitement about AI from a product perspective is unlocking just a lot more things that we can do. Like it lowers the friction, maybe is a good way to put it. It lowers the friction of doing lots of things that I would not have otherwise prioritized. And in those cases, that's one area I'm excited about. Now, thinking, I think there's another area which is just like unlocking net new capabilities. So supplementing my work is one, but there are just some ways of working that are brand new that like have never been possible before without AI. And so going through vast amounts of data, trying to go have models reason about something or have a human opinion on things that were impossible to have a human opinion about before because there was no sufficiently good AI system to do so. Those are cool opportunities to me. One of the ways that we apply Setmore Core, for example, is by actually conducting interviews with AI. And before, most people would not even get a phone call from a recruiter saying, "Hey, please tell me about your experience." That's just not scalable. It's not possible to do this in a way that you can reach everybody. With AI, this is not possible for the very first time in our lives. Like in the human history, we have never been able to have a competent conversation that does not leave you feeling embarrassed or crappy afterwards with AI. And now we do. And I think that's a really exciting kind of unlock. And while that's specific to Mercor, I think that this can apply to so many different fields out there. So.
Great. So I have two follow-up questions about the point number second and the third point you mentioned. First, the second point you mentioned about, like, for example, AI doing things that otherwise would take a lot of time,
Yeah.
and someone as a researcher, like, I want to understand the industrial perspective that what happens in academia is that, for example, when we try to do things with the help of AI, for example, if a student is doing literature review and sort of extract data from papers and then analyze it through AI, there is one school of thought that it is hitting the learning curve of the PhD student or the researcher. Essentially, the student is not learning; it's just that doing the task through a particular AI tool. Now, what is the industrial perspective about this thing? Is it something that you would recommend, or it is something that you would say that the students should not do?
Yeah, I think when it comes to being curious, this is where my biggest hope for AI and society and academia goes. I think the best students are curious about their space. They genuinely want to know more and explore. And I think what's happened oftentimes is that those explorations can be capped by, say, a professor's bandwidth or their own kind of ability to go learn all of the other things they need to learn about their domain. For me, it's hard to explore some topics without having someone be there. But now with the AI, I can actually like go down that rabbit hole, so to speak. I can explore that area that I might not have had any expertise in. And so I think that there's a case when the work is boring and you don't care, can AI be useful and kind of just help you speed ahead? Yes. But in our best cases, when we actually do care, we are curious. I think this is where the magic and the power of AI can really be used to democratize access to a lot of different domains, to a lot of other areas. And it kind of removes the cap on what's around you and says, hey, it's not on you. Pick something that you are curious about and excited about, and AI can go make that part better for you. And maybe I want to go explore something deep in the realm of like theoretical physics. That is not my background. But because other people in that field have already pushed AI to be really good, when I go ask a question about theoretical physics, the answer is not bad. The answer is actually pretty helpful. And this actually allows me to go explore different areas and see what I am passionate about without having to go like, find a professor or find someone else or do something like this to go get that insight that I was looking for.
Great. So I think certainly your answer is very comprehensive and very insightful for me, understanding that industrial perspective about things. Now, what I also, there is another angle to what we are talking about, and that is the ethical AI. Like, for example, a student using AI tools to write his assignments, or even I have seen like some people, like some kind of short videos I've seen, that people using AI in interviews, like online interviews.
Yeah, yeah.
Connects to the third part that you mentioned. So what about those kind of use cases of AI? Where comes the boundary between what is ethical and what is not ethical when we are using AI?
Yeah. Oftentimes, I think it comes down to how we represent our use of AI. Um, Oftentimes, the same behavior or the same action can be used in a helpful way. That's very ethical. And it can also be used in a way that is deceiving or harmful. And one of the challenges of AI is that both of those things are true. The more powerful AI becomes, the more useful it is. And whether your intention is good or bad, the more useful it is. And so I think that what we're seeing right now around us is people realizing that, hey, the thing that I thought was uniquely human, the best way to test human knowledge, the best way to understand what someone can do, those things have changed underneath our feet. very fast. I think that's fair to say, right? In a matter of a couple of years, the ways that we thought we can measure human intelligence and human understanding is now being questioned. And, I think that we will find new ways to kind of measure what matters. I think there probably is an open question about, hey, what does that mean? Measure what matters. But I think that's probably the right direction to go in, is like figuring out better ways to go kind of assess the underlying knowledge and what we wanted people to gain from that. And my bigger part for him is that, it works in the short term and there's no way it works in the long term. And so I think the overall incentive model is like, hey, maybe you can get that job, but if you misrepresent your experience, probably not going to work out very well. If you just go cheat through everything else, you're fine, but you're really cheating yourself in the end. When you go to have your career or something else, it probably will not be quite the same. So.
Yeah, excellent. Because this is the one thing that the academia and the education sector struggles with, to sort of distinguish between what is written by, for example, a student and what is written by AI.
Yes.
And certainly, we do want that the AI be used, but it is not used in a way that it's learning curve of the students or the researchers. Now, moving back to earlier, you mentioned a point about mock interviews, and you mentioned that while the traditional process is not scalable, that making a call to the candidate and then scheduling interviews and so on and so forth. Now, about mock interviews, how successful they are, like in industry, are people following or adopting this practice, or is it something that is still in very infancy?
Yeah. Honestly, I think we are still really early in this journey. I think that most companies are curious, but one of the challenges of trying to go find someone that knows what they're talking about is the traditional way is like I've hired a lot of people. You have to go look at a resume, and I think the common trope is that within a few seconds of looking at your resume, I know yes or no. Like, do I want to go look at this resume more or no? And a lot of people, it is no. And that's the reality of most recruiters and most hiring managers today. Now, I think we all know that what's on your piece of paper is not always indicative of your knowledge in a given area or how well you can do the job. It often is not. And so, one of the big challenges in recruiting and having a more fair and equitable way to recruit people is being able to understand people deeper and actually having a conversation. But if I need to go pay a human to have a conversation with you, well, I better make sure that that's a good use of my money because humans are expensive. And I cannot pay a recruiter to go talk to everybody that wants to be talked to. That is a reality of the world that we're in right now. But if I want to give everybody a chance to go actually express themselves, share the knowledge, and have a conversation, AI is unlocking that for the first time. And that to me is a cool experience from a company perspective. But Fahim, if you think about from like a person applying for work perspective as well, I think that both having a fair chance at getting a job is one thing, but being able to practice interviews and being able to actually share like, hey, I just want someone to go talk to. Can I get a mock interview that's realistic? That's actually going to go challenge me. That's not easy to go cheat or just get through. My hope is that these mock interviews actually are preparing people to go do the interviews with the humans on the other side. It's showing people what skills they need to work on when they actually do other interviews or like go further in the round and talk to maybe that hiring manager. How to go represent your experiences. And so my hope for mock interviews as a topic is that this is actually adding a lot of value to people that may not have a lot of opportunity to go practice interviews beforehand, where it's really hard to go find someone or do the career services office hours to go get an interview preparation. It is now available for you immediately for free whenever you want it. And my hope, for the companies overall is that this is a way to treat people more fairly and openly on that side, where you can really understand someone's actual experience and described experience more than how well their piece of paper was put together.
Great. So yeah, it's amazing to see that AI having many different applications, and more so we would see hopefully in future. Maybe 5 years ago we would have not thought of AI taking interviews and recruiting people.
Exactly.
Great. So I'll because we have a little time left, I'll try to go back to the topic we started about, that PhDs contributing to the future of AI. Now, for the benefit of the PhD students, my question is that how can they avail these opportunities? What they have to do? What is the process for availing these opportunities?
The process for what is it, Fahim? Sorry.
We earlier discussed that
Yeah.
PhD students, they can contribute to building future AI systems by perhaps labeling the data in
Yeah.
specific domain, and then people like yourself can use their data to build AI systems. So my question is that what is the process? How they can avail? How they can apply for such opportunities?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a good question. So, Morecore is certainly doing a lot of matching of opportunities right this moment for people who are interested. So, if this sounds interesting to you, we have a lot of roles on Morecore to go match these people. But in general, I think that there are many companies out there trying to go um, find people that can bring their expertise to model development. Not all of them are the same. I think when you are looking at these types of jobs, if you search AI trainer jobs, there are going to be some really good ones. And to be honest, there are going to be some really bad ones. I think the field has changed really fast in terms of what is the reputation of annotating data. Not that long ago, it did not have a very good reputation. It was kind of like the very low wage, like mundane work over and over again, the same kind of thing, and it was kind of boring, frankly, and like not that exciting. And I think a lot of that reputation and the ways that people were paid, the ways that people were engaged with, weren't always reflecting the best practices. And so I think finding a company that's really trying to be more progressive in how it loops in the humans that are contributing the knowledge to the model development is something that I would really look out for and make sure that that part is good if you're going to do this kind of work. So, my learning from OpenAI was that the better people are treated, the more engaged they are, the more that they know what the research is going to do, the better the data. And the data quality is the number one thing that these companies care about. And if the way to get high quality data is by having a great experience for everybody contributing data, I think it aligns incentives in a much better way. So those are some of my kind of learnings about just applying for work. But we do have a bunch of roles on Record. I might be a little bit biased, but we'd love to have you on our platform as well. So yeah.
Great. So one thing you mentioned about the data quality and how
Yeah.
people are after to have access to good quality data. I'm not sure if how much true it is, but I did read somewhere that the people who are building these AI systems, 90% of their time goes into preparing data and having good quality data, and only then they would be able to build these more accurate and highly efficient systems. With that, I just want to add one point for the benefit of all PhD students, because when there is an opportunity like this, we certainly need to sort of, it's attractive and it's useful. It's a learning opportunity as well. But at the same time, my suggestion to all the students certainly would be to keep a balance, in the sense that not to just completely go and allocating all your time to this opportunity. It should be perhaps a part time, which depends upon which
Yeah.
stage of PhD they are in, and accordingly they allocate time. Not that it completely diverts the focus, and the actual job, which is research, gets ahead. We are almost on time, and there are tons of questions.
Okay.
So we will. I'll take a few questions, and to others participants, please put your questions in the comments, and we'll be happy to take those questions. So although there are too many, I'll one question I'm looking at, and that is that when we are talking about mock interviews,
Yes.
and interviews taken by AI, so can AI judge emotions, feelings, or anxiety of a candidate like the way human can do?
Sort of. I'd say maybe two things on this topic. One is that honestly, I think the state of the art could still use some work on this. So there's a question of like, how good is it today? And I think it is cool. Like I think many of us have seen different ways that AI is understanding emotions or anxiety or something like this. But then probably the bigger question is, what do you do with that data? And what would be a fair experience for everybody going through an interview? Um, Someone's anxiety level may not be very related to their job performance. And so I think it's really important to be thoughtful about just because the signal is there, what signals do you ultimately pick up on and which ones correlate, to the actual job performance and the quality outcomes that we care about. And so I think that at least my personal opinion is that we should be very thoughtful and considerate about what signals do we bring in and how useful are they and how trustworthy they are and what assumptions do we want to make, if any, from those types of signals about someone's ability to do their job performance. So
Excellent. Another question we have that is perhaps more related to academia and research. I'm not sure if you have any good insight about that, but I'll ask the question that is about the plagiarism in AI generated text. So most of the times, like for example, if a student or a researcher, they use tools like ChatGPT and then they take the text as it is in a put it in an assignment or a paper. Uh, would it be flagged as AI plagiarized? And a second part to that is that how accurate are these tools which are detecting AI plagiarism in a text piece?
yep. Um, the goal is to not have it be able to be detected, frankly, right? If the AI is actually helpful and structured in its thinking, and you are structured in your thinking and don't have any grammar errors and have well formatted sentences, they should be pretty similar. That is the intention. We don't want to make a weird AI language version and then like a human version. They should just look actually intuitive and helpful and be well structured. And I think the challenge that many people in academia are seeing is that, well, shoot, when I am well structured, don't have any errors, and have complete sentences that are really nice, it looks like AI, which is actually like kind of ironic, is that sometimes the best writing and the best, ways of communicating is what the models are also doing, and they look very similar. So you kind of have this like, hey, should I just be like more bad and like more human? Probably not. And so I think that most of the time people are kind of flagging that, these plagiarism checkers do not work that well. I think OpenAI had a blog, about a year and a half ago about like teaching and AI and basically said flat out, plagiarism checkers are not reliable. There's a couple, aspects of research of, hey, what words were chosen and how does all this stuff kind of get predicted one word after the other word. And so there are some fairly scientific ways of knowing like, hey, was this string of words very likely from an AI or not? But I think even with those, it can still be a challenge to figure out what was actually AI, what is human. And then the other question is, at what point does it matter? Because if it's your work and like, hey, yeah, the AI did a great job, I want to include this. How do we include that? And when is it appropriate to include this? So I think you get into a couple other questions about how are you representing the work? What does your own kind of work and the work that you're able to produce with models look like? I think we have a couple of these deep questions to ask ourselves, and people are trying to answer this around academia now. So.
Absolutely, and what we normally the suggestion or the guidance from academia is not to sort of take it blindly. Even if you're using AI, it should be first declared. It should be kind of double checked by the human, and that is how it. Of course, I believe that we cannot completely put our head insane against AI. That okay, no AI at all. But if it is used more responsibly and ethically, I think that should be the way forward. Sean, we are almost at the end of the time. But at the end, I just want to ask you one question that if you want to give any final message to our PhD students that in regards to the future of AI, that how PhDs would fit in the future of AI and what is in it for them in the future context of AI. So any final message?
Yeah, I think too. The future of AI in your field is being built by people probably like yourself. That is just how AI is progressing, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. So if you are wanting to go build the future of AI, there are opportunities to do so right now. This is a great time to go figure out how AI is being built and how your field is going to change with AI and be part of the picture. And so I think just like knowing that that is true, I think is an important thing. The best thing that I can recommend is to really follow your passions overall. The people that will be able to contribute the most to AI are the ones that have this unique knowledge or insight. And that only comes from being able to follow your passions overall. Um, I will, if I can do one last plug. We're just announcing this now, but we are going to have a PhD fellowship um, as well at Mercor for $50,000 for 2 people. And so if you want to apply for this fellowship grant, you can do so at Mercor. And if you refer the person that receives it, we will also send you $10,000. So if that is interesting, I think it is live or it'll be live very soon on Mercor. So also maybe check that out. But in general, I think that following our passions in these fields is the key to shaping AI to be really how we want it to be. So thank you for having me today. It's been really a pleasure.
Excellent. Thank you, Sean. Thank you for giving us the time and sharing all these amazing insights. It was a great learning experience for me because we in academia are kind of restricted to what the academic minds are.
Yeah.
But it's certainly very interesting to communicate to people in industry who are building these AI systems. So it was very insightful, very informative. Thank you, and thank you for sharing about the fellowships that Marcor is offering. So again, it's a very good opportunity for PhDs around the world, and I believe that many of the PhDs would be interested and would be kind of applying. So again, thank you so much for your time, and I want to thank you all for joining in this session. This would be available on LinkedIn, and we can also make it available on YouTube. So if you missed it, you can watch it later. Thank you, Sean, again, and thank you, everyone. Have a good rest of your day, and see you. Bye.
See you all.